on this video, let's go ahead and talk about what happened against, Real Sociedad over the weekend. That's one topic that I want to talk about. What did you think about Barcelona's performance? How they played as a team? How maybe certain individuals played? I also want to go ahead and maybe ask you some questions in regards to Gil Manzano, obviously the referee and the VAR. The kind of game they maybe had, the decisions that they did, which maybe impacted the game as an overall. And then maybe we can even finish the video with talking about the upcoming match that Barcelona needs to go ahead and face against Slavia in the Champions League. Given the fact that Barcelona have had a slow start to this Champions League, I want to go ahead and maybe pick your brain about what do you think, how they should be playing, who should be starting, score predictions. Are they going to complicate themselves? And then maybe a reaction, how they will go ahead and react, especially after losing to Real Sociedad. So first things first, let's go ahead and talk about the Real Sociedad, right? They lost. What were your thoughts? What did you think about the game? Give me your overall, thoughts.
Yeah, so I think in the first half, I think Barca were playing pretty good.
Yeah.
That's the reason why they had 3 goals disallowed, right, from by the ref. So essentially, that game could have finished 3-0 by the end of the first half. So I don't think they played bad in the first half at all.
Hmm.
The only thing I do want to say about the first half, dude, is that in my opinion, Ferran Torres completely wasted Barca's good attack in the first half. I think if Barca would have had a proper striker up there, I think that striker would have taken advantage of the opportunities that Barca were giving in attack. And there's one play in particular that I remember where Olmo was the one who cut in. And yeah, he missed a shot, right? He blew it off. But that's something that your nine's supposed to be doing, dude. That's something that you expect your nine to be doing. You know? Looking for the ball. I remember the commentator, Mario Kempes, he said it, and he said it perfectly well. He said that the thing about Ferran Torres is that he expects the ball to come to his feet. Whereas what he's supposed to be doing is what Olmo did, which is look for it. Open up, look for those passes, look for that space. Have that killer instinct, right? Where you want to look, constantly look. I feel like he's just a bystander, dude, the majority of the time. He's just a bystander, and the goals that he scores, a lot of them are because Barca has a good attack.
Yeah.
That's it. Simple. It cannot be possible, dude, that your number 9 starter at Barca, and and we're talking about a pretty good first half from Barca, right? Did not have one single shot at goal. How's that possible? Like, what was he
Yeah.
doing, right? So everybody else had a shot at goal. Even Pedri, Olmo, everybody did. Lamine Yamal,
Yeah.
everybody.
For
But
me.
he did not. Why? You know? So that's one thing that I was really disappointed about. His first shot came at the 51st minute, and I was like, you know what? This is just pathetic. This is just
Yeah.
pathetic that your first shot comes at the 51st minute. That means that you were just hiding the majority of the time. Period. You were just hiding.
Yeah.
So in the first half, I think the team played pretty good, to be honest. I like the way they played the whole first half. I think the defense, even Eddie Garcia, who I really don't like as center back, he was playing pretty good in the first half. I think towards the end, yeah, they kind of complicated themselves a bit. I think Real Sociedad picked up some momentum, and then you saw some of the defense kind of struggling. Like Kunde was kind of struggling, Eddie Garcia too, right? Even Kubarasi was kind of struggling a little bit. And then I think Flick took out Balde and he put in Cancelo, right?
Hmm.
Um, and then Barca has some good chances. Um, and then the way was it the first goal or the second goal? No, the second goal from Real Sociedad came where Barca immediately after they scored the first goal and they let themselves get scored on. It's something that we've already been talking about, how Barca should not let themselves get scored on that easily just like that. I mean, it's a lack of concentration. And I think from the overall game, besides the ref, which we'll talk about, I think that should be something that maybe Flick should kind of be disappointed about. It's like, how is it possible that it happened against Real Madrid, right? Where they scored, they were 2-1 up, and then in the last minute of the first half, Real Madrid tied up, but through a corner kick. So I think that's something that maybe Flick will be disappointed by, because you just can't let yourself get tied up like that after you score. It just means that you're not concentrated, you're not focused. But besides that, I guess we could go ahead and, unless you want to mention something else, I wanted to go ahead and talk about the referee, and I want to ask you about the ref. Because, this ref, Gil Manzano, he's the same one that marked the offside for Lewandowski last season. For, I think it was the front of his foot, like a little part of the foot of his foot, and essentially the same thing happened in this game where it was like the little back heel of Lamine Yamal was offside, and they called it offside. So if you want to add something to that, Barca's performance, I don't know if you want to go ahead and talk about Gil Manzano real quickly.
Well, regarding Barcelona's performance, just real quick, I do want to say that first things first, I agree with you with Ferran Torres, right? We were both watching the game, and I think we both said it. We texted each other saying that where was Ferran Torres in the first 45 minutes, bro? And time in and time out, we've always said this about Ferran Torres, right? I think a lot of people, just look at the fact that Ferran Torres scores one or two or three goals, but they don't look at his overall performance, right? Sometimes, like you mentioned, right, when like that shot that Olmo had, that is what you expect from your number nine. Because this wasn't even only that play. There was a lot of times where, Lamine Yamal was trying to dribble inside the box, and then he wouldn't be able to find the number nine. Because Ferran Torres would kind of shy away from the plays, in my opinion. And he wasn't as clinical as you expect maybe Lewandowski to be, right? So in certain games, I do believe that I think Fleek, maybe in my opinion, bro, needs to be able to read them more. Not read them more, because I'm not saying that he's not reading the games good because Barcelona didn't have a horrible performance in the first half, but I do think that there are certain players that, in this case, Ferran, who cannot play at Real Sociedad Stadium, bro, when it's such a compact game, and Real Sociedad are gonna defend like crazy. Sometimes maybe you need Lewandowski, who can go ahead and header a ball in, because that's how the Barcelona's first goal came, through a header. And of course, like how you mentioned, right? Them being scored like getting scored like that after scoring, it's kind of disappointing, because the same thing happened against Real Madrid, where it's like maybe they lose concentration. So that's all really I wanted to say, because in the first half you can see Barcelona time in and time out trying pretty much everything, whether if it was trying to pass the ball on the ground, whether if it was trying to lobby the balls, whether if it was trying to be, to kind of look for the number nine and in the air. Ferran Torres wasn't there, and maybe sometimes when you need or you want to center a ball, you need a player like Lewandowski in the box. And just real quick, what I just want to finish my thought process with, I think that this game as well, just as well as much, of this season, we can see the absence of Rafinha, where Rafinha gives you that kind of you could say energy that Barcelona sometimes lack. Which was if it's pressuring, if it's trying to recover the ball, even shooting from outside sometimes, just shoot. You never know. Just shoot. You just never know. But that's it.
Yeah, and then I also wanted to mention something real quick. I don't know if you noticed, and I think you did, but when Lewandowski came in, dude, Lewandowski pretty much was showing Ferran Torres how to be a proper striker. Because one thing that Ferran Torres doesn't do at all, and he can't do because he gets bullied, is he cannot hold the ball in the middle and look for the wingers to make a pass.
No, that's
He
why
was
he's always
getting
trying to do like a quick touch.
he was always getting pushed to the floor, getting bullied out there. And then I remember when Lewandowski came in, he held the ball good and he gave it to Lamine Yamal on the wing, which is what
Yeah,
you expect your number nine to do. So I think, just to end it, I think Flick needs to. I mean, it's hard to comment, which is obviously we don't know, but based on what we've seen from Barca's history since we've been watching Barca, bro, I think Flick needs to understand that Ferran Torres, he's not a starting number nine for Barca. Period. He's not. He's a
I
bench
agree with
player,
you.
and that's why he should remain a bench player. And I've always said it, and I said it this season because Barca didn't get a number nine. I said if Barca go on and pretend like they can start with Ferran Torres as the number nine and they're gonna get far, I think they're highly mistaken. Because
I
when they
agree with
come
you.
up against the bigger teams, we saw it against Chelsea. That's what's gonna happen. So yeah, I guess we can just end it there, and then we can just transition over to Gil Manzano, bro. Because I wanted to ask you, your opinion about this ref, because this ref has a history with Barca, right? I remember Piquet went off on him. Um, he,
He said, "I
that
shit on your
season,
mother."
yeah, he told him that, and and rightly so, because I do feel like he makes a lot of calls that are just kind of. Although he did do some good calls, he went to VAR, right, to remove the yellow card from that player's release, which is was a red, a straight red. So that was good.
But why do you have
But
to go to VAR?
yeah, that's the thing. Immediately for the yellow instead of the red. So yeah, I wanted to ask you, what do you think? Because that offside goal from Lamine Yamal, bro. I mean, same thing last season with Lewandowski, bro.
So it's funny, dude, because they asked Fleek, right? what he thought about that, and they pretty much told him that the same ref and the same VAR ref who pretty much disallowed Lewandowski's goal, like how you said last season, right? And he just didn't really say too much. He just said, "Good job." He said he didn't want to, talk too much about it and kind of waste his energy because everybody was able to see what he had done. And I agree, right? Um, and I think that we can see exactly the kind of ref he is because I think that Jung said it perfectly, bro. After the interview, after the game, he gave a post match interview, and he pretty much said that, him being the captain, Gil Manzano wasn't even allowing him to talk to him. He was pretty much just, kind of waving him off, blowing him off, and just looking at him like, "Don't talk to me." And technically speaking, right, the ones who are able to talk to the referees all the time are only the captains. And by him pretty much telling Gil Manzano that Real Sociedad players were, time wasting. The Jung said that he pretty much just threw him a yellow card, slapped him with a yellow card. He said he couldn't even wait. It looked like he couldn't wait to just slap him with a yellow card. So I think the referee was pretty, it was a disaster, and like you said, it kind of goes back, from long time ago. Xavi has had issues with Gil Manzano. Barcelona have publicly called out Gil Manzano. Piqué has had his issues, and I think that this game was no different, bro. I think that this game was no different. I can understand that referees can make a mistake, bro, but when you constantly make mistakes back to back to back against Barcelona when you're the same referee, I think it should something should be done, in my opinion. And I'm just gonna finish up with my thoughts regarding Gil Manzano and that offside goal with what Edu from El Chinguito said. He said that, but that was not even an offside, and that's him, bro. That guy is very biased, but he said it.
Yeah,
He said that I was
yeah,
not an
because
offside.
yeah, bro. Because it honestly, that's imagine marking that as offside in a World Cup final, bro. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, bro. It's like as a ref, I'll be thinking to myself, man, if we were in a Champions League or World Cup final, would I mark this as an offside? I don't think I would. Because honestly, there's just no point in marking that as an offside. So yeah, dude, that ref he had it against. You can tell he had it against Barca players. And the Jong he got frustrated because he's the
Yeah.
captain and he should be able to talk to the ref. And then he said that the ref looked down on him like, "Hey, I'm better than you. Don't talk to me." And he didn't like that. And then Flick, his Spanish came out. Even his Spanish came out, bro. That's how pissed he was. Buen trabajo.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, I guess we can just go ahead and take the loss. Barca is still 1 point ahead of Real Madrid, which is good. Real Madrid, in my opinion, they win games because they have enough players to win the majority of the teams in La Liga. But I think Real Madrid, once they come up against the bigger teams like Atletico Madrid or Barca, I think they're gonna struggle.
I agree.
Unless they improve their gameplay. So I honestly don't really care because if Barca keep playing the way they played against Real Sociedad for I want to say the majority of like the 60th all the way to the 70th minute, I think Barca can win 90% of the games or even more. So I guess we could go over and talk about the Champions League match that's coming up, dude. Because against Slavia on Wednesday, because Barca are 15th and 15th place in the Champions League table, and if they don't make it to the top eight, then they're gonna need to play a playoff game
Yeah.
against who knows who, right? So that's two more games that they have to worry about that are so unnecessary. But what do you think about that game? Do you think Barca can bounce back from the 2-1 defeat and beat Slavia? And then we could probably talk a little bit about who do you expect in the starting lineup.
I mean, I actually expect for Barcelona to bounce back and beat Slavia, bro, in the Champions League because time in and time out, we've said this season, Barcelona have been struggling in the Champions League. They haven't been able to have, a great start to it, and they've been struggling. And I think that obviously they need to go ahead and win that game, right? So the way they should react is by winning the game, right? I know that
Yeah,
the Real Sociedad game, they lost, but technically speaking, it's not like they got slaughtered. It's not like they got, it's not like they played horrendous, they played bad. It's just you have some of those games sometimes, right? Where everything you want to do just doesn't come out and you can't do it. You can't win.
yeah, I agree.
But with Slavia, yeah, of course, it's an important game, just given the fact that Barcelona have not been playing good, and they need to go ahead and win. So I do expect for them to win. They are playing away, if I'm not mistaken,
Yeah,
and I am with you. I think that in this game, you also mentioned that in this game, we wouldn't really want to see Ferran Torres coming up, starting off. When there are tight games and important games, bro, I think that in the Champions League, especially, you need a type of player that with one shot, it's like 90% in. right? Any chance that he can get is a 90% chance goal. You have no room for errors, and I think we saw that against Chelsea, bro. This season, that Ferran Torres, that goal that he missed could have probably changed the outcome of the whole game, right? But he didn't. He missed it, and Chelsea went ahead and pretty much smashed Barcelona after.
Yeah.
So I think that in the Champions League, bro, I think Fleet needs to realize that no matter what, if you want to go ahead and maybe secure the games, just go ahead and start Lewandowski as your number 9. That's just my opinion, bro. I think that Ferran Torres could be useful once the defense is opened up. But when the game is kind of close, bro, I mean, sometimes it's very difficult, in my opinion. I think that I think it's time for people to actually realize that Ferran is not the player that people think he is, bro, because just because he has 14 goals or 11 goals, I don't even give a damn how many goals he has, bro. In my opinion, it's never going to be justified, when he goes ahead and, misses against big teams or, misses in clinical moments. I'm
Hmm.
just tired of it, bro, to be honest. So, whatever. Regarding other players, I really don't want to get too much into detail because I think that it's like a give or take, right? Rafinha's probably going to come back, or Firmino is going to be rested, or Olmo's going to be rested. I don't think he was. I don't think he's going to start with Joao Cancelo. To be honest, I don't think he should because Joao Cancelo, let's not forget, just got here as well, bro. So you can't expect for Joao Cancelo to come over here and maybe attack it and penetrate the box as well, or even be dangerous when technically speaking, he hasn't probably learned your system. That's just my opinion. I think that's maybe just real quick going back to the last to that game. I was kind of surprised that he put him in that game because I said okay, but what are you really expecting for Joao Cancelo to do right now? Actually, I was kind of surprised with the substitutes he made that game, to be honest, because I was kind of like surprised. He took out Eddie Garcia, he put Gerard Martin, and if I'm not mistaken, he took Obarsi. He also took
Yeah.
Balde. You're pretty much taking out three defenders. So it kind of and Kunde, right? He took out Kunde as well.
I
So
believe so.
I was like, okay, that's weird. But whatever. It is what it is. So going back to the Champions League game coming up, I think that Barcelona can win the game, should win the game, and I hope they do win the game, though that's it. What about you?
Yeah. I think he's gonna make some changes. I think he's gonna rest some players. I wouldn't be surprised if he rests Pedri, to be honest. Maybe starts Casado or even Bernal. Because
I
I
wouldn't
think
want him to though,
Pedri,
bro.
I think Pedri had a rough game on on the
Yeah, they
weekend,
were
bro. That's
cracking
why
him.
I honestly think that I wouldn't be surprised if he does, just because Pedri was getting kicked left and right, bro, and he did look pretty dead, pretty tired towards the end of the game. So, but let's see. I guess Slavia, bro. To be honest, Barca should not lose. They should not lose or tie. But then again, they did the same thing against Club Brugge, right? Where we thought, oh, they should
Yeah.
win this game, and yet they tied up the game 3-3. So, I do think hopefully he starts with Gerard Martin in the back, though. I do want to see Gerard Martin in the back because, I don't know why he's killing Gerard Martin's momentum, bro. Gerard Martin was doing pretty good. But like I said, Flick has his obsession with Eddie Garcia, and Eddie Garcia has to play, period. So if he doesn't put him in the middle, then he's going to put him in as a center back. I think Gerard Martin should start in this game on Wednesday against Slavia. I don't want to see Ferran Torres. If I see Ferran Torres in there, I know we're going to miss chances. So I hope he starts with Lewandowski. And maybe Rafinha comes back. And if not, then maybe he should just rest him. Take it easy, take it slow. You also don't want to, you don't want Rafinha to get back injured like he was, for how many months he was injured? Like 3 months, right?
Yeah, I think he was off for like almost 3 months, bro.
Yeah. So I think Lamine Yamal is starting. In the middle, I do want to see if he either rests Olmo or Pedri, or Fermin. I want to see who he starts. I have a feeling he's going to start Fermin, though. I have a feeling he's going to start Fermin and maybe put Olmo on the bench. And I also, I wouldn't be surprised if he starts Rashford, too, though, in this game, to be honest, against Slavia. Yeah. So, yeah, I think as long as Pedri doesn't start, bro, I'm good. I mean, as Pedri, yeah, right? I think as long as Ferran doesn't start, bro, I'm good. As long as I don't see Ferran's Torres face there, then I'm fine, bro. I
Yeah.
don't care who plays.
Well, I do hope to see Barcelona winning this game, bro, in the Champions League, especially because, like, we said, even though they didn't play better against Real Sociedad, they also missed some chances. They also weren't as clinical or deadly in the box. So, not everything obviously has to be put on the ref as well, bro, because let's not forget, right, that against Real Sociedad, Barcelona, Barcelona's number 9 didn't have a shot until the 51st minute,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
And that is something that maybe Flick and Barcelona as a whole can obviously realize.
Assess. No,
So
they have to
yeah,
assess that. If I think if I'm a head coach, I would assess that. I'd be like, hey, why is it that our starting number 9, our striker, had his first shot at the 51st minute when we're not giving him
hmm
enough chances, or what's going on here?
Yeah, was he
because I
not
think Barca's
performing good?
yeah, it's because I think Barca's attack was good, bro, in the first half. So
Yeah,
there should be no excuse why your starting number 9 should have 0 shots on target for the whole 45 minute after your team put a good performance in attack. So, but
I agree with you.
I want to ask you, what about score predictions? What do you think? What scoreline do you see against Slavia?
I mean, I think it just really depends. If Slavia opens up, bro, I can see Barcelona putting in maybe like three goals on them. But if they don't, I think a 2-1 victory, 2-0 could be it.
Me too. I'm going for like a 2 goal difference for Barca. Maybe even a 1 goal difference, like 2-1, 3-2, or maybe a 3-1 win for Barca. I don't think Barcelona are going to score more than 3 goals because I do think Slavia are going to defend. They're going to park the bus.
Let's see what happens on Wednesday, bro. Let's see what
Yeah.
happens.